Background information. Dating back to the Shang dynasty in 1600 BC, China was a land of many folk and traditional religion. Important components of these religions consisted of beliefs in concepts such as otherworldly realms and the offering of food as sacrifices. It was also during this time that the 100 schools of thought flourished, a time period where philosophies, ethics, and religions would compete for dominance during the Warring States period of China. It was after this period that Confucianism would win the battle for dominance and become the official belief system that led China and its culture. In 1905, Confucianism ended as intellectuals started to blame it for China's weakness during the Century of Humiliation. Religious persecution was rampant as temples and other religious institutions were being taken down. It was later during the Cultural Revolution that religion as a whole would be attacked and that atheism would be enforced. The four main religions under Mao's regime. Christianity. From 1966 to 1976, religious life in China was effectively banned. The Three Self Church, China's largest Protestant organization and one of the largest in the world at the time, was taken out as well. Christians would be executed by communists and thus went underground to practice the religion. Bibles were destroyed, churches were looted, and Christians would be subject to humiliation. Islam, like most other religions, were part of the four olds that the Red Guard was told to smash during the Cultural Revolution. The problem with this, however, is that China has a region where 50% of the population is Muslim. The Xinjiang Autonomous Zone presented a great challenge to China due to its numerous separatist movements by the Uyghur people. Furthermore, an uprising by the Muslim Hui people in Shadian stood up to the Cultural Revolution. It was here that China used MiG planes to kill 1,600 Hui Muslims. To make matters worse for the Chinese government, many of these Muslim movements were being supported by the Soviet Union during the Sino-Soviet split. Buddhism. Since Buddhism was, and still is, China's biggest religion, they were allowed a restricted amount of state-sanctioned practice. This, however, was taken away during the Cultural Revolution. From 1966 to 1976, temples were destroyed, religious texts were burned, and other violent eradication measures were taken in order to stop public expression of religion. Furthermore, Chinese attacks on the Tibetan region increased. All monks and nuns were forced to marry or sent to labor camps. Religious texts and books were considered as poisonous and were burned or thrown into rivers. Taoism, or Taoism, can count as both a philosophical and religious belief. It has played a prevalent role in Chinese life throughout history, much like Confucianism. Under Mao, Taoism was harshly suppressed due to it being viewed as a deviant superstition and harmful to Chinese society at the time. Similar to Buddhism, temples and art were destroyed, land was confiscated, and priests and nuns were forced back into everyday life. Similarities to Stalin. From 1932 to 1937, Joseph Stalin declared the 5-year plans of atheism. All religious expression within the Soviet Union were to be eliminated, and the very concept of God was to be dismantled. Much like Mao, Stalin would resort to persecution of the religious mass via arresting or shooting religious officials, burning down religious buildings, etc. Newly captured territory in World War II were to be subject to this as well, but were relatively lax in comparison to the homeland. Overall, the Cultural Revolution was successful in suppressing any visible practice of religion within the country, but it was unable to cause any permanent changes to Chinese society as religious practice would recover some years later.